like Oregon and have negative scoring efficiency in the top 25. Okay, so with Ole Miss, I say you got to stay on the hot hand side and lay the points. There's no way, given the way Wake Forest has started and Ole Miss is that right now.
Okay, so if Bartoo bet it, Diamond Dave, handicapper to the gods, he would lay the points at 22.5. And because Ole Miss is good on both sides of the ball, have 100 times more talent, and that's kind of just keep it simple, stupid type stuff, and that makes sense.
Yeah, I'd say you don't overthink it. If you're betting it, you just stick with the hot hand, and you got talent, you got in terms of performance year to date. I think that's where your money would have to go.
All right, let's keep rolling. Diamond Dave on the Out of Bounds Show, brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Bet $50 at the Sportsbook. Play award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club for $40. LSU at South Carolina. Game day will be there. LSU is -7, and the total is 49.5. Bartoo.
Well, the total's no surprise, right? Because both teams are better defensively on the coaching side. Baker and White. It's basically the same game as last week, right? At Kentucky, you had two better DCs, two bad OCs, and that one hit the under as well. So I think in this game, you've got to be on the under. And if you're going to make a bet, I would bet on the under in this game. I would not bet the spread. I don't know really what to expect with these teams, because if you look at their numbers, they're kind of all over the board, and I'm just right now, I'm just not sure what to expect. I lean LSU, right, from a talent standpoint, from a coaching standpoint. But after the first 2 weeks, looking at the numbers, I don't have a lot of confidence in trying to figure out where LSU is going so far with this season, because most of the combined results are just kind of in the middle right now.
So, Bartoo, if he's betting this game, LSU at South Carolina, he's going under. The strength from both staffs is on the defensive side of the football. And the last thing that Brian Kelly wants to happen?
They got Muschamped.
All right. So,
ooh, baby.
Dave Bartoo on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. I like that. And that's an early game. I don't know if Bartoo even factors. He runs so many numbers on so many different things, but I do think what's interesting to me about this game is one, game day's there, so that's a lot going on. And then two, the game's at 11 a.m. And I've always wondered, does that favor the road team or the home? I've always thought it favored the road. I've talked to coaches who are like, they like to get their players up, get them fed with breakfast, get them moving around, get to the stadium and play. But they may be off, and I may be off, and Bartoo may have a thought on that, or may not. Who knows? Bartoo?
Yeah, no, I'm here. I was listening to you, and my thoughts on it. Early kickoffs. Look, our bodies, human bodies, we are coldest at 4 a.m. One of my favorite sports bets is, for whatever reason, the WNBA loves rolling out games at 9 a.m. tips. Always bet that under. Every single time, blindly take whatever the line is. So, our bodies take more time to warm up. And to me, I think that factors into not necessarily the outcome of the game, because both teams are playing at the same time. And I think it's more of the body getting ready to play. Again, that's another reason, if I'm liking the under, that early kick time is something I think may play a tiny factor in it.
Okay, I like that. Bartoo, handicapper to the gods, brought to you by Pearl River Resort on the Out of Bounds Show. Toledo at Mississippi State. Jason Candle against Jeff Lebby. That it's in Starkville. The spread is minus 11.5 dogs, and the total is 59.5. Bartoo.
Yeah, something, I will stay away from the total on that one. It's kind of a no man's land for me, because I think the strength of both of these teams are offensively. You got Levy on one side, you got Candle on the other. Candle, top 20 offensive coordinator in college football today by our grades. So I think it's going to be more offensive game. So if you're leaning on the 59, I would lean over in that. And I remember you texted me. The opening line on this was minus 10.5. And my mind immediately went to, I'll take Toledo's coaching in 10.5. Obviously, there's a huge talent gap there, but I ran the numbers year to date on efficiencies, and Mississippi State actually in their first two games have been a lot more efficient than I think even the listeners would believe, even if I said the numbers. And so I went from, I'll take Toledo in 10.5, now 11.5, to I'm really not sure what's going to happen here, right? Because Mississippi State has had some really good runs so far in their first 8 quarters. Some bad ones, right? Things that you'd want to see cleaned up, but offensively and defensively, there's a lot of bright spots there. So I'm more of I'm not betting anything on this game because I'm not comfortable with it versus where I was a few days ago. This is a fascinating game for both teams. But it's still, if I'm leaning something, if I'm putting a bet on it, you say, Dave, you got to bet $20 on something here. I'll take the points just because of the unknown factor I have with Mississippi State right now.
All right. So Jason Candle is a top 20 offensive play caller.
Yeah, he's really solid. His defensive coordinator is solid too. But I mean, the big gap here, we got a huge talent gap. Right? I mean, team that recruits in the 25s and the 30s versus a team that recruits in the 80s and 90s, right? I mean, it shouldn't be even a question, but because of all the turnover with coaching continuity and the new staff and new everything, I think it throws the game a lot more into question than it would, let's say, 2 or 3 years from now.
All right, Bartoo on the Out of Bounds show, brought to you by the Golden Moon Sportsbook. Bet $50 there, play award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club for $40. Bet 50, play 40. Bartoo on the show. Texas A&M at Florida. All right. Yeah, A&M minus 3.5 on the road, and the total is 46.5, Diamond Dave.
Dude, I have no idea what the hell's going to happen in this football game. I mean, look, it opened at minus 4.5. That means money's coming in on Florida, right? Who thought Florida would be, people be betting on Florida a week ago? But you know what's really influencing this game? Notre Dame. Remember 2 weeks ago, Notre Dame, A&M, top 25 matchup, 23-13. Oh, it's a good football game. You know, maybe both those teams suck, right? What we thought was really good football game and we get caught up in this, maybe that's not a very good football game because Notre Dame laying that egg at home, doesn't it make you question if A&M's worth a damn so far? I mean, it has to. Right? It absolutely has to. And so I don't know what we're getting out of Florida. It is in Florida. So, you know, you have that edge there. I think this is two teams with obviously huge question marks. Money's coming in on Florida. I don't know which direction A&M's going after Notre Dame getting beat at home by Northern Illinois. So of all the games we've talked about, you could not get me to bet on anything with this game. I have no idea which direction it's going. I mean, obviously we'd lean probably home team, underdog in September, but heck, this one is really confusing. I am fascinated with the outcome of this football game.
All right, so Bartoo says stay away from it. That means Jackson will bet a lot on it this weekend. Dave Bartoo, Diamond Dave, joining us on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We're going over some of the games. Exciting weekend. Alabama at Wisconsin, and the spread is minus 16, Bama, and then the total is 50.5, Diamond Dave.
You know, two programs right now that are strong defensively, but that total has dropped a lot. When it opened, it was much higher, and so money is streaming in on the under, which I don't blame people. These are two defensive-heavy programs right now in terms of their coaching ability, really light offensively. So I'm staying away from the total. It opened at 15.5, so money's coming in on Bama. The line's moving up. I feel that Longo hasn't been able to figure out a rhythm at Wisconsin. They can't score very well right now. There's too much of a talent differential. And Alabama, their scoring efficiency is number 3 in the country right now. They are also the super hot hand, and you're not having to lay more than 20 points. I'm surprised the spread isn't above 20. It's under 17. Of all the games we've talked about so far, I'll take Alabama minus 16 at Wisconsin right now.
Ooh. All right. Diamond Dave will take the Alabama Crimson Tide, and he will lay the 16 points. Brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Diamond Dave is on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Got another SEC matchup Saturday night. Georgia at Kentucky. Georgia minus 24. And the total, good Lord, is 45.5.
Is that minus 24? Is that the first half spread or the whole game?
Ooh, shots fired. I love it.
Dude, look, I'm not an X's and O's guy, right? I am not an X's and O's guy. I don't watch film. That's not my job, right? That's not the piece of the puzzle I fill. But by some reason, the football gods had me click on South Carolina, Kentucky for about 8 minutes last weekend. Good Lord, that was horrific, absolutely horrific. And now, after getting thumped 31-6, they got to go play the best team in college football. Good night, dude. There is absolutely no way that I can visualize Kentucky covering this thing without massive errors by Georgia. Maybe they let their guard down, but they haven't so far. I think Kentucky's one of their biggest problems is emotional, because Mark Stoops did a June Jones. Mark Stoops did a Justin Fuente. Mark Stoops did a Scott Satterfield. You know what happened to all three of those guys? They flirted with other programs, openly, publicly, got turned away, and then they ended up getting fired because nobody trusted them anymore. Remember, Mark Stoops was on a plane to A&M. He was gone.
Yep.
He left that basketball school behind. He left the dinner table at the date and was gone, and then he had to come back. We know what happened to the guys that do this kind of stuff, right? They don't last. And I think there's a huge emotional play here at Kentucky that Mark Stoops was out the door, that he was coming back, for sale sign on the house, desk cleaned out. And then A&M said, no, we're not going to do this. So I think there's a lot more emotion at work inside Kentucky than I think we're giving it credit for. I will take Georgia. Whatever points you want to lay, I'll take Georgia. And 45, dude, South Carolina just scored 31 last week. Actually, technically it was 24 with no offense. And now you get Georgia. Now, I'll take the over and Georgia to cover that football game.
You did.
All right. So he likes Georgia, and you can tell that Bartoo is a big Mark Stoops and Kentucky football fan. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Let's see if there's anything else out there.
Here, I'll throw some tasty ones at you that I like right now. That I've already bet. Indiana at UCLA. Indiana's laying 2.5. UCLA, bottom 5 coaching staff. They got no talent. Indiana's top 20 in total scoring efficiency this year. Indiana has a really good staff. I think they smoke UCLA. I like Pitt at home with better talent and better coaching. They are catching 2.5 at home in Pittsburgh against West Virginia. I think West Virginia was more lightning in a bottle last year than good, and I think they're overrated there. I like Pitt catching 2.5 at home.
Heck yeah. All right. So he likes Indiana playing at UCLA and Pitt at home against the West Virginia Mountaineers. And what's that guy's name? Neil Brown. He was almost fired a couple years ago, wasn't he? Or is he still there?
Yeah. He was on this super hot seat.
Yeah.
Before last season, and then last season they got things going for a little bit. And had a really solid year, and everybody's like, woo, West Virginia's back. And I'm like, no, they're not. The staff hasn't changed, and I think they were more lucky than good last year. And, there was a lot of buildup because Penn State was at West Virginia, and then West Virginia lost 32-12 at home. So, no, I'm not buying the West Virginia resurgence there. Another small spread that I do like is Cincinnati at Miami of Ohio. Neither one of these teams have been very flashy, but I'm always looking for the talent coaching edge early in September with tiny spreads. And 2.5 to me is basically a pick 'em. So those 2.5 spread games like UCLA, laying 2.5, you can go money line on this too. Same thing with Cincinnati, money line to win. But I do like Cincinnati laying 2.5 at Miami of Ohio this weekend as well.
All right. Hey, we got a couple of minutes real quick. I know you're going to the airport. What, Diamond Dave on the Out of Bounds show, long before DeBoer went to Alabama, you were telling us about DeBoer. You were talking about Brom. There's others. So who do you think the next, or have you identified, have y'all identified another guy that could be, he may not be, but could be the next guy in a couple years?
Well,
or
yeah. If we're talking like next up from the group of 5, right? I mean, that's really what we're talking about. We were surprised last year that Jamie Chadwell didn't get the call up from
right.
Liberty.
Sure.
Top 10 offensive coordinator in college football right now. He's had success multiple places, multiple stops. Obviously fans will go, well, can he recruit? He's recruiting for more money now than anything, right? I mean, look at my backyard. Parents go to Dan Lanning, I want $750,000 in a car. Sure, spill, sign the check. That's what recruiting is for Oregon, right? So a lot of recruiting isn't that, as much is less about relationships now as in terms of how much money do you have. So I don't worry about those things as much. So I like Chad. We really like Chadwell. Jason Candle's been sitting there for a while.
He has.
He has. I mean, I'm wondering if his window's passed. I wonder what the problem is. Or maybe he just needs to have that really big year. But has it been too long to have the really big year, right? Matt Campbell had a really big year really quick at Toledo, and he got the Iowa State job, So I'm wondering if Candle's window has gone through, has gone past him. I think one of the guys to look at, the shine has come off Trailer at UTSA, and the guy that beat him, G.J. Kinney at Texas State, that's probably the hot name right now, even though it's more offensive. That one's kind of early. But if I had to pick one guy out of the group of 5 that I would like to see come up and get a shot with the big boys, it'd be Jamie Chadwell.
All right, we'll leave it there. Have a great weekend, my man. Have a good trip.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right, see you, buddy. Diamond Dave Bartoo.
Hot take.
Mm-hmm. Let's see what else we
They
have.
got
Here.
Muschamped.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
They got Muschamped.
That's on the line for Brian Kelly this weekend, Jackson Meadows. You can't go over there.
They got Muschamped.
You can't do it.
They got Muschamped.
Kirby Smart actually got.
They got Muschamped.
It was several years ago, but he let South Carolina come into Athens, and I don't know how Will Muschamp did it. Kirby was still trying to, learn the deal and figure it out. But for Kirby, it was a
hot garbage.
It was. And so Brian Kelly can't, take that talented LSU team, put them on a plane and go over to Columbia, South Carolina and have that happen.
They got Muschamped.
Man, that was a fun show today. I thought we really got rolling and had a ton of fun and goofed off, and then we went hardcore football with Steve Palazzolo, NFL Insider. If you missed Palazzolo, we went heavy Saints and Cowboys. Really wanted to feature that game. Those are two teams within driving distance. Plenty of Saints and Cowboys fans here. Saints 2.5, 3 hours away. Cowboys 5, 6 hours away. And of course the tie with Dak. And all that. That's Saints at Cowboys at noon on Sunday. Noon on Sunday. And yes, Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady, Fox's #1 team, will be calling that game again. Not the 3:15, 3:25 time slot, but they'll be calling Saints and Cowboys, and you'll get Burkhardt and Brady in that game with Dak and Derek Carr. Hey, the show is brought to you by Trey Meacham, United Country, Southern States Realty. Find your dream recreational hunting property. Call Trey Meacham today. United Country, Southern States Realty. Trey's number 601-622-1974. If you missed any of that, text us, and I will give you the information. The show is also brought to you by the delicious Wilderness Trail Bourbon at Briarwood Wine and Spirits. And the show is also brought to you by Fueling Up for your next road trip at Fleetway Market and the Market Cafe in Gluckstadt. We'll see you tomorrow. It'll be a Football Friday.